Hello students, today I am going to solve simple question on mole concept, right? So the question is 2 moles of H2SO4 contains 2 moles of H2SO4 contains how many how much grams of H2SO4? The question is 2 moles of H2SO4 contains how much grams of H2SO4? This is the direct question. We have the formula to convert the moles to mass. So what is the formula we have? Moles equal to weight by molar mass, right? We have 2 moles. Weight we need to calculate. The molar mass of H2SO4, I showed you how to calculate in the previous video. So 2 plus 16 plus 64, 2 plus 32 plus 64, 98 is coming, right? I am going to substitute molar mass over here. So weight equal to 98 into 2, 196 grams is coming, right? So in question he has given moles, he asked us to calculate the mass. As we know the formula to convert the moles into mass, moles equal to mass by molar mass. So I have substituted these values. So 2 moles in the question they have given that, I substituted over here. And the molar mass of H2SO4 is 98. If you calculate the weight, 169 grams is coming, right? This is the first step. So I little complicate this question, right, by changing the how 2 moles of H2SO4 contain, right? 2 moles of H2SO4 contain how many moles of oxygen atoms and oxygen molecules. Okay, molecules. 2 moles of H2SO4 contains how many moles of oxygen atoms and oxygen molecules? As we know, 1 mole of H2SO4 contains 4 moles of oxygen atoms and 8 moles of and 2 moles of oxygen molecule. Right, 1 mole of H2SO4 contains 4 moles of oxygen atoms and 2 moles of oxygen molecule. But in the question he has given 2 moles. So you can write 2 moles of H2SO4 contains. So 1 mole H2SO4 means 4 moles of oxygen atom. But here 2 moles of H2SO4 means 8 moles of oxygen atoms. 8 moles of oxygen atoms. And we can also say 4 moles of oxygen molecule. I think you understood. 1 mole of H2SO4. Why 4 moles? Here 4 is there, right? 4 moles of oxygen atoms. Oxygen molecule symbol is O2. That's why it become half 2 moles of oxygen molecule. But in the question he has given 2 moles. So we can say 2 moles of H2SO4 contain 8 moles of oxygen atoms and 4 moles of oxygen molecule. Here 4 means, the 2 means double, 8 moles of oxygen atoms and 4 moles of oxygen molecule. Now understood? Oxygen. So now I will slightly change this question. 2 moles of H2SO4 contain how much mass, right? So in previous question we have calculated the moles. 1 mole H2SO4 contain how many moles of oxygen atoms and how many moles of oxygen molecules. In this question I am just changing it. 2 moles of H2SO4 contain how much mass of oxygen atoms and oxygen molecules. Now we are going to solve this. As we know, just now we have calculated 2 moles of H2SO4 contains 4 2 moles of H2SO4 contains 8 moles of oxygen atoms, right? Just now we have calculated. So 2 moles of H2SO4 contain 8 moles of oxygen atom. But in the question he asked us to calculate the mass. So what is the formula we have? Moles equal to weight by molar mass, right? Here substitute the moles of the oxygen. It is 8. W by molar mass of oxygen atom is 16. So if you calculate 16 into 8, 128 grams is coming, right? I repeat. So he has given the moles. He asked us to calculate the mass of the oxygen atom and molecules, right? As we know, 2 moles of H2SO4 contain 8 moles of oxygen atoms, right? So now we need to convert the moles into the mass. We have the formula moles equal to weight by molar mass. So moles 8, W by 16, if you calculate, 128 grams is coming. 128 grams is coming. Now we need to calculate the mass of the oxygen molecules. We have calculated the mass of the oxygen atom. Now we need to calculate the mass of the oxygen molecules. So we know 2 moles of H2SO4 contain 4 moles of oxygen molecule. 4 moles of oxygen molecule, right? So we know the formula moles equal to weight by molar mass. Here oxygen molecule moles is 4, weight by oxygen molecule molar mass is 32. So W equal to 32 into 4. So 196 grams is coming. Okay. Next, I'm going to slightly change this question. 2 moles of H2SO4 contains how many atoms of? See, first question we have solved moles. Second question we have solved for mass. Now just directly we are going for atoms, right? How many 2 moles of H2SO4 contain how many atoms of oxygen atoms and oxygen molecules? How many oxygen atoms and how many molecules, right? So we can change this. 2 moles of H2SO4 contain how many oxygen atoms and molecules? So for that, just write, we know 2 moles of H2SO4 contains, we know 8 moles of oxygen atoms. Okay, 2 moles of H2SO4 contain 8 moles of oxygen atoms. So we know 1 mole equal to 6.023 into 10 power 23. 1 mole equal to 6.023 into 10 power 23 atoms. 1 mole atoms means 6.023 into 10 power 23 atoms. Here we have 8 moles of oxygen atoms means 8 into 6.023 into 10 power 23. Roughly it is coming 48 into 10 power 23 oxygen atoms. I repeat, 2 moles of H2SO4 contain means 8 moles of oxygen atoms. 1 mole means 6.023 into 10 power 23. Here we have 8 moles of oxygen. So if you calculate 48 into 10 power 23 oxygen atoms is coming, right? So now we need to calculate the oxygen molecules, right? We need to calculate the oxygen molecules. 2 moles of H2SO4 means 4, right? 4 moles of oxygen molecules. 4 moles of oxygen molecules. So as we know, 1 mole equal to 6.023 into 10 power 23, right? So 4 moles means 4 into 6.023 into 10 power 23. It is roughly coming 24 into 10 power 23, right? Molecules of oxygen, or you can also write oxygen molecules, right? Like this we need to solve. When he has given the compound and he asked us to calculate the individual element moles. He also asked us to calculate the individual element mass and how many individual element atoms are there or molecules are there. So like this way the question paper sector will frame the questions. Once you master the concept, we can solve any kind of question, whatever the method he give, no problem. So if you master the concept, you can solve any kind of problem. So with 3 methods. First method is he has given the compound and we have calculated the mass of the individual compound, right? Next method, we have calculated how many number of molecules and atoms are there. Okay, thank you.